So we are reading Bible today, as usually do. And we are starting from chapter 19, Second King chapter 19. Before we start, let's say our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. She forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So let's start. Second Kings chapter 19. As soon as King Hezekiah heard their report, he tore his clothes in grief, but put on sackcloth and went to the temple of the Lord. He sent Eliakim, the officer in charge of the palace. The officer in charge of the palace, Shibnear, the court secretary, and the senior priest to the prophet Isaiah, son of Amos. They also went wearing sackcloth. This is the message which he told them to give Isaiah. Today is a day of suffering. We are being punished and are in disgrace. We are like a woman who is ready to give birth, but is too weak. But is too weak. But is too weak to do so. The Austrian Emperor has sent his chief officers to insult the living God. Thank you. May the Lord your God hear this insult and punish those who spoke then. So pray to God for people who survive. When Isaiah received King Hezekiah's message, he sent back this answer. The Lord tells you not to let the Astras threatening you with their claims that he cannot save you. The Lord will cause the emperor to hear a rumor that will make him go back to his own country, and the Lord will have him killed there. The Austrian officials learned that the emperor has left Lachish and was fighting against the nearby city of Lebanon. So he went there to consult him. Word reached the Austrians that the Egyptian army, led by the king Tirhakah of Sudan, was coming to attack them. When the emperor heard this, he sent a letter to King Hezekiah of Judah to say to him, "The God you are trusting in has told you that you will not fall into my hand. But don't let that deceive you. You have heard what an Austrian emperor does to any country he decided to destroy. Do you think that you can escape? My ancestors destroyed the city of Gozan, Haram, and Reziph, and killed the people of Bethlehem who live in Thalassa, and now of their gods, and none of their gods could save them. Where are the kings of the city of Hamath, Arpad, Sepharvaim, Hena, and Eva?" King Hezekiah took the letter from the messengers and read it. Then he went to the temple, placed the letter there in the presence of God, and prayed, "O Lord, the God of the God of Israel, enthroned above the winged creatures, you alone are God, ruling all the kingdoms of the world. You created the earth and the sky. Now, Lord, look at what is happening to us. Listen to all the things that Sennacherib is saying to insult you, the living God. Ah, we all know, Lord, that the emperors of Ashtaroth has destroyed many nations, made their land desolate, and burned up their gods, which were no gods at all, only image of wood and stone made by human hands. Now, Lord our God, rescue us from the Ashtoreth so that all the nations of the world will know that only you, O Lord, are God. Then Isaiah sent a message telling King Hezekiah that in answer to the king's prayer, the Lord have said, the city of Jerusalem laughed at you, Sennacherib, and despised you. Whom do you think you have been insulting and ridiculing? You have been disrespectful to me, the Holy God of Israel. You send your messengers to boast to me that with all your chariots you have conquered the highest mountains of Lebanon. You boasted that there you cut down the tallest cedars and the finest cypress trees, and that you reached the deepest parts of the forest. You boasted that you dug wells and drank water in foreign lands, and that the feet of your soldiers trampled the river Nile dry. Have you never heard that I planned all this long ago? And now I have carried it out. I gave you the power to turn fortified city into pipes of rumbles. The people who lived there were powerless. They were threatening and stunned. They were like grass in a field of weed growing on a roof when the hot east wind blasts them. But I know everything about you, what you do and where you go. I know how you rag against me. I have received the report of that rag and that proud of yours. And now I will put a hook through your nose and a bit in your mouth, and take you back to the by the same road you came. Then Isaiah said to King Hezekiah, this is a sign of what will happen. This year and next you will have only white grain to eat, but the following year you will be able to sow your corn and harvest it, and plant vines and eat grapes. Those in Judea who survive will flourish like plants that sent roots deep into the ground and produce fruit. There will be people in Jerusalem and on Mount Zion who will survive, because the Lord is determined to make this happen. This is what the Lord have said about the Astra Eperu. He will not enter the city or shoot a single arrow against it. No soldiers with shield will come near the city, and no siege mounds will be built round it. He will go back by the same road he came, without entering the city. I, the Lord, have spoken. I will defend this city and protect it. Okay, I will defend this city and protect it for the sake of my own honor and because of the promise I made to my servant David. That night, an angel of the Lord went to the Asher camp and killed 185,000 soldiers. At dawn the next day, they lay all dead. Then the Ashur-Emperor Sennacherib withdrew and returned to Nineveh. One day, when he was worshipping in the temple of his god Nisroch, two sons, Adramelech and Shazer, killed him with their sword, and then escaped to the land of Ararat. Another of his sons, Esarhaddon, succeeded him as emperor. 2 Kings chapter 20. About this time, King Hezekiah fell ill and almost died. The prophet Isaiah son of Amoz, went to see him and said to him, "The Lord tells you that you are to put everything in order, because you will not recover. Get ready to die." Hezekiah turned his face to the wall and prayed, "Remember, Lord, that I have served you faithfully and loyally, and that I have always tried to do what you wanted me to." And he began to cry bitterly. Isaiah left the king, but before he had passed through the central courtyard of the palace, the Lord told him to go back to Hezekiah, ruler of the Lord's people, and say to him, "I, the Lord, the God of your ancestors David, have heard your prayer and seen your tears. I will heal you, and in 3 days you will go to the temple. I will let you live 15 years longer. I will rescue you and this city of Jerusalem from the peril of Astra. I will defend this city for the sake of my own honor and because of the promise I made to my servant David." Then Isaiah told the king attendants to put on his bow a paste made of figs, and he will get well. King Hezekiah asked, "What is the sign to prove that the Lord will heal me, and that 3 days later I will be able to go to the temple?" So sorry guys, let's continue. Isaiah replied, "The Lord will give you a sign to prove that he will keep his promise. Now, would you prefer the shadow on the stairway to go forward 10 steps or go back 10 steps?" Hezekiah answered, "It is easy to make the shadow go forward 10 steps." Isaiah prayed to the Lord, and the Lord made the shadow go back 10 times, 10 steps on the stairway set up by King Ahaz. About that same time, the king of Babylonia, Merodach Baladan, the son of Baladan, heard that King Hezekiah had been in. So he sent him a letter and a present. Hezekiah welcomed the messengers and showed them his wealth, his silver and gold, his spices and perfumes, and all his military equipment. There was nothing in his storerooms or anywhere in his kingdom that he did not show them. Then the prophet Isaiah went to King Hezekiah and asked, "Where did these men come from, and what did they say to you?" Hezekiah answered, "They came from a very distant country, from Babylon, from Babylonia." "What did they see in the palace?" "They saw everything. There is nothing in the storerooms that I did not show them." Isaiah then said to the king, "The Lord Almighty says that a time is coming where everything in your palace, everything that your ancestors has stored up to this day will be carried off to Babylonia. Nothing will be left. Some of your own direct descendants will be taken away and made is it Eno, to serve in the palace of the king of Babylonia." King Hezekiah understood this to mean that there would be peace and security during his lifetime, so he replied, "The message you have given me from Lord is good." Everything else that King Hezekiah did, his brave deeds and on account of how he built a reservoir and dug a tunnel to bring water into the city are all recorded in the history of the kings of Judea. Hezekiah died and his son Manasseh succeeded him as king. 2 Kings chapter 21. Manasseh was 12 years old when he became king of Judah, and he ruled in Jerusalem for 45 years. His mother was Hephzibah, following the disgusting practice of the nation whom the Lord has driven out of the land. As his people advanced, Manasseh sinned against the Lord. He rebuilt the pagan places of worship that his father Hezekiah had destroyed. He built altars for the worship of Baal and made an image of the goddess Asherah, as King Ahab of Israel had done. Manasseh also worshipped the stars. He built pagan altars in the temple, the place that the Lord had said was where he should be worshipped. In the two courtyards of the temple he built altars for the worship of the stars. He sacrificed his son as a burnt offering. He practiced divination and magic and consulted fortune-tellers and mediums. He sinned greatly against the Lord and stirred up his anger. He placed the symbol of the goddess Asherah in the temple, the place about which the Lord had said to David and his son Solomon. Here in Jerusalem, in this temple, is the place that I have chosen out of all the territory of the 12 tribes of Israel, as a place where I am to be worshipped. And if the people of Israel will obey all my commands and keep the whole law that my servant Moses gave them, then I will not allow them to be driven out of the land that I gave to their ancestors. But the people of Judah did not obey the Lord, and Manasseh led them to commit even greater sins than those committed by the nations whom the Lord has driven out of the land as his people advance. Through his servant the prophet the Lord said, King Manasseh has done these disgusting things, things far worse than what the Canaanites did. And with his idols he has led the people of Judah into sin. So I, the Lord God of Israel, will bring such disaster on Jerusalem and Judah that everyone who heard about it will be stunned. I will punish Jerusalem as I did Samaria, as I did King Ahab of Israel and his descendants. I will wipe Jerusalem clean of its people, as clean as a plate that has been wiped and turned upside down. I will abandon the people who survive, and will hand them over to their enemies, who will conquer them and plunder their land. I will do this to my people because they have sinned against me and have stirred up my anger from the time their ancestors came out of Egypt of this to this day. Manasseh killed many innocent people, that the streets of Jerusalem were flowing with blood. He did this in addition to leading the people of Judah into idolatry, causing them to sin against the Lord. Everything else that Manasseh did, including the sin he committed, is recorded in the history of the kings of Judah. Manasseh died and was buried in the palace garden, the garden of Uzzah, and his son Ammon succeeded him as king. Ammon was 22 years old. Ammon was 22 years old when he became king of Judah, and he ruled in Jerusalem for 2 years. His mother was Meshullemeth, the daughter of Haruz, from the town of Jodbah. Like his father Manasseh, he sinned against the Lord. He imitated his father's uh, actions, and he worshipped the idols that his father has worshipped. He rejected the Lord, the God of his ancestors, and disobeyed the Lord's commands. Ammon's officials plotted against him and assassinated him in the palace. The people of Judah killed okay. The people of Judah killed Amon's assassins and made his son Joshua king. Everything else that Amon did is recorded in the history of the kings of Judea. Amon was buried in the tomb in the garden of Uzzah, and his son Joshua succeeded him as king. 2 Kings 22. Joshua was 8 years old when he became king of Judah, and he ruled in Jerusalem for 31 years. His mother was Jedidah, the daughter of Ada, from the town of Bozkat. Joshua did what was pleasing to the Lord. He followed the example of his ancestors, King David, strictly obeying all the laws of the Lord. In the 18th year of his reign, King Joshua sent the court secretary Shaphan, the son of Azaliah and grandson of Meshullam, to the temple with the order, "Go to the high priest Hilkiah and get a report on the amount of money that the priests on duty at the entrance to the temple have collected from the people. Tell him to give the money to the men who are in charge of the repair in the temple. They are to pay the carpenters, the builders, and the masons, and buy the timbers and the stones used in the repairs. The men in charge of the work are thoroughly honest, so there is no need to require them to account for the funds." Shaphan delivered the king's order to Hilkiah, and Hilkiah told him that he had found the book of the law in the temple. Hilkiah gave him the book, and Shaphan read it. Then he went back to the king and reported, "Your servants have taken the money that was in the temple and have handed it over to the men in charge of the repairs." And then he said, I have I have here a book that Hilkiah gave me. And he read it aloud to the king. When the king heard the book being read, he tore his clothes in dismay and gave the following order to Hilkiah the prince, to Ahikam, son of Shaphan, to Achbor, son of Micaiah, to Shaphan the court secretary, and to Azariah the king's attendants. "Go and consult the Lord for me and for all the people of Judah about the teachings of this book. The Lord is angry with us because our ancestors have not done what this book says must be done." Hilkiah, Ahikam, Achbor, Shaphan, and Azariah went to consult a woman named Hodiah, a prophet who lived in the newer part of Jerusalem. Her husband Shallum, the son of Tivah and grandson of Hahash, was in charge of the temple robes. They described to her what has happened, and she told them to go back to the king and gave him the following message from the Lord: "I am going to punish Jerusalem and all its people, as written in the book that the king has read. They have rejected me and have offered sacrifices to other gods." Other gods, yes, it should be pronounced like that. "And so have stirred up my anger by all they have done. My anger is aroused against Jerusalem, and it will not die down. As for the king himself, this is what I say. The Lord God of Israel says, you listened to what is written in the book, and you repented and humbled yourself before me, tearing your clothes and weeping. When you hear how I threaten to punish Jerusalem and its people, I will make it a terrifying sight, a place whose name people will use as a curse. But I have heard your prayer, and the punishment which I am going to bring on Jerusalem will not come until after your death. I will let you die in peace. 2 Kings chapter 25. King Joshua summoned all the leaders of Judah and Jerusalem, and together they went to the temple, accompanied by the priests and the prophets and all the rest of the people, rich and poor alike. Before them all, the king read aloud the whole book of the covenant, which had been found in the temple. He stood by the royal column and made a covenant with the Lord to obey him, keep his laws and commands with his heart and soul, and to put into practice the demands attached to the covenant, as written in the book. And all the people promised to keep the covenant. Then Joshua ordered the high priest Hilkiah, his assistant priest, and the guard on duty at the entrance to the temple to bring out of the temple all the objects used in the worship of Baal, of the goddess Asherah, and of the stars. The king burnt all these objects outside the city near the valley of the Kidron, and then has the ashes taken to Bethel. He removed from office the prince that the kings of Judah has ordained to offer sacrifices on the pagans' altar in the city of Judah and in place near Jerusalem. All the princes who offered sacrifice to Baal, to the sun, the moon, the planets, and the stars, he removed from the temple the symbols of the goddess Asherah, took it out of the city to the valley of Kidron, burnt it, pounded its ashes to dust, and scattered it over the public burial ground. He destroyed the living quarters in the temple occupied by the temple prostitutes. It was there that okay, it was there that of Asherah. He brought to Jerusalem the princes who were in the city of Judah, and throughout the whole country he desecrated the altar where they had offered sacrifice. He also tore down the altars dedicated to the goat demons near the gates built by Joshua, the city governor, which was to the left of the main gate as one enters the city. Those priests were not allowed to serve in the temple, but they could eat the unleavened bread provided for their fellow priests. King Joshua also desecrated Tophet, the pagan place of worship in the valley of Hinnom, so that no one could sacrifice his son or daughters as a burnt offering to the god Molech. He also removed the horses that the king of Judah has dedicated to the worship of the sun, and he burnt the chariots used in this worship. They were kept in the temple courtyard near the gate and not far from the living quarters of Nathan-Melech, a high officer. The altars which the king of Judah has built on the palace above King Ahaz's quarters, King Joshua tore down, along with the altars put up by King Manasseh in the two courtyards of the temple. He smashed the altars to bits and threw them into the valley of Kidron. Joshua desecrated Joshua desecrated the altars that King Solomon had built east of Jerusalem, south of the Mount of Olives, for the worship of disgusting idols, Astarte, the goddess of Sidon, Chemosh, the god of Moab, and Molech, the god of Ammon. King Joshua broke the stone pillars to pieces, cut down the symbols of the goddess Asherah, and the ground This is where they have stood, he covered with human bodies. Hmm? Could you show me out? Because someone told me to. Yeah, I'm sorry. I want to make me feel better if you could shout. Oh my god. What is this? Oh, I don't know. Che. Yeah. Joshua also tore down the palace, the place of worship in Bethel, which has been built by King Jeroboam son of Nebat, who led Israel into sin. Joshua pulled down the altar, broke its stones into pieces, and pounded them to dust. He also burnt the image of Asherah. Then Joshua looked round and saw some thorns there on the ground and saw some thorns there on the hill. He had the bones taken out of them and burnt on the altar. Doing what he doing in this way, he desecrated the altar, doing what the prophet has predicted. Whose tomb is that? He asked. Okay. Predicted long before during the festival as King Jeroboam was standing by the altar. King Joshua looked round and saw the tomb of the prophet who has made this the prediction. Whose tomb is that? He asked. The people of Bethel answered, it is the tomb of the prophet who came from Judea and predicted these things that you have done to this altar. Leave it as it is, Joshua ordered. His bones are not to be moved. So his bones were not moved, neither were those of the prophets who has come from Samaria. In every city of Israel, King Joshua tore down all the pagan places of worship, which has been built by the kings of Israel, who thereby aroused the Lord's anger. He did to all those altars what he had done in Bethel. He killed all the pagan priests on the altars where they served, and he burnt human bones on every altar. Then he returned to Jerusalem. King Joshua ordered the people to celebrate the Passover in honor of the Lord their God, as written in the Book of Covenant. No Passover like this one has ever been celebrated by any of the kings of Israel or Judah since the time when Judges ruled the nation. Now at last, in the 18th year of the reign of Joshua, the Passover was celebrated in Jerusalem. In order to enforce the laws written in the book that the high priest Hilkiah had found in the temple, King Joshua removed from Jerusalem and the rest of Judea all the mediums and fortune tellers, and all the household gods, idols, and all other pagan objects of worship. There has never been a king like him before, who served the Lord with all his heart, mind, and strength, obeying all the law of Moses, nor has there been a king like him since. But the Lord's first anger has been aroused against Judea by what King Manasseh have done, and even now it did not die down. The Lord said, I will do to Judea what I have done to Israel. I will banish the people of Judah from my sight, and I will reset Jerusalem, the city I chose, and the temple, the place I said was where I should be worshipped. Everything else that King Joshua did is recorded in the history of the kings of Judah, where Joshua was king. King Necho of where Joshua King Necho of Egypt led an army to the river Euphrates to help the emperor of Assyria. King Joshua tried to stop the Egyptians' army at Megiddo and was killed in battle. Ah, ah. Mm. His officers placed his body in a chariot and took it back to Jerusalem, where he was buried in the royal tombs. The people of Judea chose Joshua's son, Joahad, and anointed him king. Joahaz was 23 years old when he became king of Judah, and he ruled in Jerusalem for 3 months. His mother was Hamutal, and daughter of Jeremiah from the city of Libnah. Following the example of his ancestors, he sinned against the Lord. His reign ended when Necho of Egypt took him prisoner in Reba, in the land of Hamath, and made Judea pay 3,400 kilograms of silver and 34 kilograms of gold as tribute. King Necho made Joshua's son Eliakim king of Judah as successor to Joshua, and changed his name to Jehoiakim. Joahaz was taken to Egypt by King Necho, and there he died. King Jehoiakim collected the tax from the people in proportion to their wealth, in order to raise the amount needed to pay the tribute demanded by King of Egypt. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he became king of Judah, and he ruled in Jerusalem for 11 years. His mother was Zebindiah, the daughter of Pedaiah, from the town of Ramah, following the example of his ancestors. Jehoiakim sinned against the Lord. While Jehoiakim was king, Nebuchadnezzar of Babylonia invaded Judea, and for 3 years Jehoiakim was forced to submit to his rule. Then he rebelled. The Lord sent army bands of Babylonians, Syrians, Moabites, and Ammonites against Jehoiakim to destroy Judea, as the Lord had said through his servant, the prophets, that he would do. This happened at the Lord's command in order to banish the people of Judea from his sight because of all the sins that King Manasseh have committed, and especially because of all the innocent people he have killed. The Lord could not forgive Manasseh for that. Everything else that Jehoiakim did is recorded in the history of the king of Judea. Jehoiakim died and his son Jehoiachin succeeded him as king. The king of Egypt and his army never marched out of Egypt again because the king of Babylonia now controlled all the territory that belongs to Egypt, from the river Euphrates to the north border of Egypt. Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he became king of Judea, and he ruled in Jerusalem for 3 months. His mother was Nehushta, the daughter of Enadam from Jerusalem, the daughter of the daughter of Eliada, from Jerusalem. Following the example of his father, Jehoiachin sinned against the Lord. It was during his reign that the Babylonian army, commanded by King Nebuchadnezzar's officers, marched against Jerusalem and besieged it. During the siege, Nebuchadnezzar himself came to Jerusalem, and King Jehoiachin, along with his mother, his sons, his officers, and the palace officials, surrendered to the Babylonians. In the 8 years of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, he took Jehoiachin prisoner and carried off to Babylonia all the treasures in the temple and the palace, as the Lord had foretold. Nebuchadnezzar broke up all the gold utensils which King Solomon had made for use in the temple. Nebuchadnezzar carried away as prisoners the people of Jerusalem, all the royal princes and all the lady men, 10,000 in all. He also deported all the skilled workmen, including the blacksmiths, leaving only the poorest of people behind in Judea. Nebuchadnezzar took Jehoiachin to Babylon as a prisoner, together with Jehoiachin's mother, his wives, and his officials, and the leading men of Judea. Nebuchadnezzar deported all the important men of Babylonia, 7,000 in all, and 1,000 skilled workers, including the blacksmiths, all of them able-bodied men fit for military duty. Nebuchadnezzar made Jehoiachin's uncle Mattaniah king of Judea and changed his name to Zedekiah. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he became king of Judea, and he ruled in Jerusalem for 11 years. His mother was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah from the city of Libnah. King Zedekiah sinned against the Lord, just as King Jehoiakim has done. The Lord became so angry with the people of Jerusalem and Judea that he banished them from his sight. 2 Kings chapter 25. Zedekiah rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylonia. So Nebuchadnezzar came with all his army and attacked Jerusalem on the 10th day of the 10th month of the 9th year of Zedekiah's reign. They set up camp outside the city, built siege walls round it, and keep it under siege until Zedekiah's 11th year. On the 9th year of the 4th month of that same year, when famine was so bad that the people have nothing to eat, um, the city wall was broken through. Although the Babylonians were surrounding the city, all the soldiers escaped during the night. They left by way of the royal garden, went through the gateway connecting the two walls, and flew in the direction of the Jordan Valley. But the Babylonians' army pursued King Zedekiah and captured him in the plain near Jericho, and soldiers deserted him. Zedekiah was taken to King Nebuchadnezzar, who was in the city of Riblah, and there Nebuchadnezzar passed sentence to him. While Zedekiah was looking on, his sons were put to death. Then Nebuchadnezzar had Zedekiah's eyes put out, placed him in chains, and took him to on the 7th day of the 5th month of the 5th month um, of the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylonia, Nebuz what is his name? Nebuzaradan, advisor, king, and commander of his army, entered Jerusalem. He burnt down the temple and the palace and the house of all the important people in Jerusalem, and his soldiers tore down the city walls. Then Nebuzaradan took away to Babylonia the people who were left in the city. The rivers of Babylon, the remaining skilled workmen and those who have deserted to the Babylonians. But he left in Judea some of the poorest people who property and put them to work in the vineyard and fields. The Babylonians broke in pieces the bronze columns and the carts that were in the temple, together with the large bronze tank, and they took all the bronze to Babylon. They also took away the shovels and the arches containers used in cleaning the altar, the tools used in tending the lambs, the bowls used for catching the blood from the sacrifice, the bowls used for burning incense, and all the other bronze articles used in the temple services. They took away everything that was made of gold or silver, the small bowls and pans used for carrying live goods, the bronze object that King Solomon had made for the temple, the two collier carts and the large tank were too heavy to weigh. The two columns, the carts, no, no, the two columns were identical. Each one was 8 meters high with a bronze capital on top, 1.3 meters high all round. Each capital was a bronze granite decorated with pomegranates made of bronze. In addition, Nebuzaradan, the commanding officer, took away a prisoner, Sariah, the high priest, Zephaniah, the prince next in rank, and the 3 other important temple officials. From the city he took the officers who had been in command of the troops, 5 of the king's personal advisers, who were still in the city, the commander's assistant, who was in charge of military record, and 16 others important men. Nebuzaradan took them to the king of Babylonia, who was in the city of Riblah, in the territory of Hamath. There the king had them beaten and put to death. So the people of Judah were carried away from their land into exile. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon made Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam and grandson of Shaphan, governor of Judea, and placed him in charge of all those who had been away to Babylon. When Judean officials and soldiers who had not surrendered heard about this, they joined Gedaliah at Mizpah. These officials were Ishmael, son of Nathaniah, Johanan, son of Kirah, Serian, son of Tahumet, from the town of Nephtophah, and Jezaniah from Makkah. Gedaliah said to them, I give you my word that there is no need for you to be afraid of the Babylonian officials. Settle in this land, serve the king of Babylonia, and all will go well with you. That in the 7th month of that year, Ishmael the son of Nephthah, the grandson of Elishama, a member of the royal family, went to Mizpah with 10 men, attacked Gedaliah, and killed him. He also killed the Israelites and Babylonians who were there with him. Then all the Israelites, rich and poor alike, together with the army officers, left and went to Egypt because they were afraid of the Babylonians. In the year that Evil-Merodach became king of Babylonia, he showed kindness to King Jehoiakim of Judea by releasing him from prison. This happened on the 27th day of the 12th month of the 37th year after Jehoiakim has been taken away as prisoner. Evil-Merodach treated him kindly and gave him a position of greater honor than he gave the other kings who were exiled with him in Babylonia. So Jehoiakim was permitted to change from his prison clothes and to dine at king's table for the rest of his life. Each day, as long as he lived, he was given a regular allowance for his needs. So this is the end of 2 Kings. So I will be starting from Chronicles tomorrow, not today, because I got something I have to do. And before I go, let me read to you guys. Actually, let me read Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I have everything I need. He lets me rest in fields of green grass and lead me into quiet pools of fresh waters. He gave me new strength. He guides me in the right path, as he has promised. Even if I go through the deepest darkness, I will not be afraid, Lord, for you are with me. Your shepherd rod and staff protect me. You prepare a banquet for me where all my enemies can see me. You welcome me as an honored guest and fill my cup to the brim. I know that your goodness and love will be with me all my life, and your house will be my home as long as I live. Psalm 24. The world and all that is in it belongs to the Lord. The earth and all who live on it are his. He built it on the deep waters beyond the earth and laid its foundation in ocean depths. Who has a right to go up the Lord hills? Who may enter his holy temple? Those who are pure in heart and thoughts, those who do not worship idols or make false promises. The Lord will bless them and save them. God will declare them innocent. Such are the people who come to God, who come into the presence of the God of Jacob. Fling wide the gates, open the ancient doors, and the great King will come in. Who is this great King? He is the Lord strong and mighty, the Lord victorious in battle. Who is this great King? The triumphant Lord. He is the great King of glory. So this is the end of this reading. See ya tomorrow. See ya tomorrow. See ya tomorrow. Oh, see ya tomorrow. See ya. Bye bye. Yeah.